Our second to last speaker will be Kevin Dalton. So Kevin works in the LCLS data systems team. He's working to develop and deploy new statistical models for time-resolved diffraction and tools for feedback during LCLS experiments.
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to make the case today for this technique called variational inference in data analysis. So, of course, the buzz right now in contemporary machine learning is everything's about scale, right? We want to build these giant data centers and train ever larger foundation models with more and more parameters. And then, you know, the latest breakthroughs that we have are coming from taking these already, you know, quite gigantic models and throwing more inference time compute at them as well. And I want to argue that like this works very well for natural language processing, but I think it's not the only way. And maybe when we're analyzing scientific data, and I think this audience will appreciate, we want to keep other approaches in mind as well. So there are kind of two ways you can think about deploying a machine learning model to analyze your data. You can either have this kind of pre-trained model paradigm where you have a large foundation model that you know, it may be scale well at inference time, but during training it's quite data hungry and also more difficult to interpret than other maybe physics-based models. But I'd also like to make the case for, you know, maybe we should actually just retrain models for each new data set as it comes online. And I want to talk about some machinery that I've been using to do that in my work. And so you can think about doing that in sort of two ways. You can either have kind of physics-based models or statistics-based models. The advantage of the physics-based model is that it can be quite interpretable. One of the downsides is that it's probably going to contain a lot of local parameters, like sample geometry information is a big one in our field, X-ray crystallography. And that can prevent those models from scaling efficiently. So what I would pitch is that we consider using this sort of stochastic variational inference paradigm, which is a Bayesian method that combines Bayesian inference and usually deep neural networks. It has properties that are quite nice. It can be quite scalable. It can retain some of the interpretability of physical models. And you can even integrate some physical parameters into the model if you want as well. So I've been working for some time about making such a model in the field of crystallography. And this is kind of how it looks like schematically. So this sort of plot just specifies an interpretable model of data generation for crystallography. It says that the intensities that we observe on the detector are a product of the Fourier coefficients of the electron density. That's the thing we want to estimate. And some sort of systematic error. That's the G in this plot. And in particular, the systematic errors are parameterized by this theta here, which is a neural network. And that network gets to look at, so to speak, the data itself and some metadata about each observation. And the name of the game here is to jointly learn these Fourier coefficients and the neural network parameters together in order to best fit the data. And so, like, the advantages of using this approach are many, but one of them is that compared to like a maximum likelihood or a map estimate, you don't just get a point estimate of the thing you care about, you get a whole distribution. So that means that having uncertainty estimates is kind of baked into the inference paradigm. It's quite natural to include various sources of prior information. So in the work that I've done so far, we've been using a very sort of bland prior in the form of this random atom model, which really says nothing about the sample except that we know it's composed of atoms. But you could imagine including other things like previously determined high resolution structures, information from the molecular sequence, you know, things like that. Furthermore, this kind of inference paradigm plays really nicely with kind of contemporary ML tools. So it can be written in a way that's automatically differentiated and makes it easy to add physics-based functions without having to do the calculus even. And it plays nicely with these deep neural networks, of course. So these can be dropped in for any component in your model that you don't have physics for. You can put a black box learnable function into your model and learn it as you're training on your data. So what I showed during my postdoc is that you can take one of these models and apply it in really sort of diverse circumstances. So this is the same diffraction model that's trained on 3 very different types of diffraction experiments. One is a conventional synchrotron data set. One is a time-resolved data set where the beam is not monochromatic, it's actually polychromatic, so LAWA data. And one is some serial femtosecond crystallography data from LCLS. So all the same algorithm, but normally you would have 3 sort of domain-specific algorithms for addressing these cases. Furthermore, we've been working on this more recently since I came to LCLS, and you can make the model in such a way that it scales well to large data sets. So these are 3 example data sets of publicly available free electron laser data. And they're all they're not the largest, but they're pretty large, especially ranging up to 160,000 images or so. And you can train such a model and recover state-of-the-art results on this is one of our favorite benchmark. Thanks. This is one of our favorite benchmark metrics, which is anomalous peak height of IZ elements in the unit cell. And critically, to the point of scaling, all of these models were trained, to convergence here in about 20 minutes of time on a single A100 GPU. So if you convert that to data rates, this could keep up with something on the order of 200 hertz to about 2 kilohertz, depending on the particularities of the data set, the resolution that you want to recover, and the unit cell of the sample. And finally, I'd just like to plug that we're taking these same ideas and applying them to upstream tasks and data analysis. So I've been collaborating with Luis here from my postdoc group to tackle this challenge of estimating the photon flux to regions of interest in the images. So this is normally one of the earlier steps in data reduction. And you can relatively easily come up with a model to tackle this challenge using the same principles.